What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of 10 Minutes of Magic here on the MMCast YouTube channel, talking to you guys about fun stuff in the Magic world every single week, several times, and this time is no shortage, talking to you guys about one of the favorite cards of all time for most people, and that is Doubling Season. How do you make Doubling Season good in the modern format? Leave your thoughts, your comments below. Let us know if you like this series, and I'm going to tell you right now about Doubling Season. So there are three Planeswalkers immediately that come to mind that are really good with Doubling Season. For those of you that don't know, Doubling Season is an enchantment for 1 green, 4 colorless. Whenever a permanent would enter the battlefield under your control with counters on it, it enters with twice that many. If counters would be placed on something, place twice that many. This goes for creatures, artifacts, what have you. Planeswalkers come into play with 2 times as many counters. This is a thing that people do in Commander all the time. There's a lot of Planeswalkers who are able to ultimate right off the bat as soon as you play them if you have the Doubling Season in play. However, the tough thing about that is that Doubling Season costs 5 mana, and it's a do-nothing enchantment the turn it comes down. That is a death sentence in the modern format. So, there's a full conversation about this on this week's episode of the MMCast Full Show. But today I'm going to tell you guys about the quick version that I came up with yesterday. So, the 3 Planeswalkers that come to mind that combo really well with Doubling Season are Jace, Architect of Thought. It's blue 2, has an ultimate that effectively allows you to search your library and your opponent's library for any permanent that you want or something like that. But the point is you can get all the best things out of their deck and put a new Jace into play. Do it over and over again until you're out of Jaces, and now your board is stacked with tons of good things. If you have Nahiri the Harbinger in your deck, it now means that you're able to get a copy of Nahiri, then minus putting an Emrakul into play with haste. You win the game, probably, if you attack with Emrakul. And of course, Samut the Tested, the 4-mana one from a couple years back, has an ultimate ability that allows you to search your library for up to 2 creatures and Planeswalkers and put them into play. So there's lots of options if you want to go into multiple colors. The version that I decided to play is like a 4-color version that has lots and lots of different things going on. The key card that I want to play in this deck, because obviously you need something that is able to get you Planeswalkers, but also enchantments, I decided to play the card Wargate. If you guys don't know what Wargate does, it is green, blue, white for a sorcery, green, blue, white, X. Search your library for a permanent card with converted mana cost X or less and put it directly onto the battlefield. So what that means is that you can search your library for Doubling Season for 8 mana, or you can search your library for any of these Planeswalkers for 7 mana and put them directly on the battlefield. It also means that on turn 3, you can ramp directly into any land in your deck. And in this deck, the card that you need to be playing is Lotus Bloom, the Suspend Black Lotus that has Suspend 3. The Suspend cost is 0. It's from Time Spiral. People have seen this card work in old Eggs decks. The reason this is so cool is because Wargate on turn 3 can just search for it for 3 mana and put it directly into play, which allows you to get to 7 mana on turn 4. There are a lot of ways to get to 7 mana on turn 4. This just happens to be the one that I decided to go with because it combos very well with Wargate, because if you have lots of mana, Wargate can get you either of these difficult to tutor pieces. There's not a lot of things that search for Planeswalkers and enchantments. Now, the key card that allows this whole deck to work is Pentad Prism. It's a Sunburst artifact, 5th Dawn, it's colorless, enters the battlefield with counters equal to the number of colors spent to cast it. So that means that if I spend green, blue to cast it, it comes down with 2 counters, and I can remove a counter from this card to add 1 mana of any color to my mana pool. So this means that on turn 2, I can cast a Pentad Prism. Turn 3, I can take the counters off to cast Doubling Season. On turn 4, I hit my 4th land, and I just play any of my 4 mana Planeswalkers, search for the fatties, win the game. Now, if I play a Lotus Bloom on turn 1, and it comes into play on turn 4, with my 4th land, I now have 7 mana. Which means I can cast Doubling Season with 2 mana open, cast a Pentad Prism. Pentad Prism comes in with 4 counters instead of 2, and now with the 4 mana, I can cast any of the Planeswalkers, ultimate, and win the game. This works if you Wargate for Lotus Bloom on turn 3, or if you just naturally get it on turn 1. So there's a lot of cool ways to make that work. Now, there are a bunch of support cards that I decided to put into this deck. So cheap counter magic. I think a card like Swan Song is a really interesting option. I mean, you could play Spell Pierce also. Force of Negation is particularly important in this deck because you're playing all of these blue cards, copies of Serum Visions to dig for your combo. Obviously, Wargate's a blue card. The Jaces are blue cards. I even threw in a single copy of Nicol Bolas Planeswalker, just because if I get a Nicol Bolas Planeswalker off of one of the ultimates, Bolas ultimates immediately. They discard 7 cards, sacrifice 7 permanents, and lose 7 life. It seems pretty hard to lose if you've done that, considering the next turn, if you plus it, you're going to plus 6 to gain control of something. Like, pretty crazy stuff. Also, you can pitch it to Force. So there's lots and lots of cool and fun things with this deck, guys. It's definitely a deck that is probably going to get torn apart by easy hand disruption, but there are a lot of options and ways you can take to build the deck. So that was my newest idea for a way to use Doubling Season in Modern. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. I have a list. It's going to be posted here in the comments. Be sure to check out a full discussion about the strategy on this week's episode of the MMCast. Leave your thoughts, your comments below. Follow me on Twitter at Ben Bateman Media and follow the show at the MMCast. Hit subscribe, guys, and we'll see you on the next edition of 10 Minutes of Magic.